Good morning, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. We're going to ask that everyone take their seats. Thank you very much. Good morning. Buenos días. Today we are here for a workshop, and it's titled Know Your Rights. And we are going to be able to help you today in gathering any type of information that you may need about knowing your rights. Esta mañana vamos a estar aquí para ayudarles a prepararse y conocer sus derechos. My name is Erlinda Soltero Reese, and I am the Chief Academic Officer here in the Fullerton School District. And we have today with us, we have two board members. We have Ruthie Hanchett, she's in the back, and then we have Miss Vanessa Estrella. If we can give them a round of applause, please, because they are forerunners of this journey that we have. We also have some district personnel here. We have Deputy Superintendent Dr. Hammett. He's right here from Human Resources. We have one of our directors here from Child Welfare and Attendance, Ms. Dr. Helene Morris. And then we also have our coordinator, Jenny Saul, from the community center that is right next door. That is where we have our notary also present and ready to assist you. Okay. Next. If you are listening in right now, here present, channel 1 is for Spanish and channel 3 is for Korean. If you need them, Ms. Sheila's already translating, and we have Ms. Kyung Hee. And then online, for those of us that are on webinar, we have also interpretation. If you look for the little globe and then you choose your language there, we have Ms. Ruth Gare interpreting on the webinar and Ms. Jenny Shim also interpreting. So we have that available, and hopefully you're able to join us today. Our workshop today is going to be guided by our very own Bethany Anderson. She is part of Camino, give me the full title, Camino Immigration Services, and you're going to see we are working with her closely. She will have some hours here at the community center as well. There is a flyer that we have available, but I am going to go ahead and pass this presentation over to her, and she's going to help us out, and we're going to learn a lot. So thank you very much, Bethany.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for being here today. So today we're going to go over just a little bit about what your rights are, regardless of your immigration status, and then talk about just different scenarios that hopefully will never happen, but just in case, to be prepared. So if you've heard me talk about this before, then you've heard me explain that this is kind of like having a fire extinguisher in your house. You hope to never have to use it, but it's really important to have it just in case. So I don't want this information to cause you more anxiety or stress. It really is meant to just give you some peace of mind that you do have rights. And regardless of what happens, you have the education to protect yourself as best as possible should there be an encounter with ICE or law enforcement. So this is the most important thing for everyone to remember, that every person who lives in the United States has rights, regardless of immigration status. This is protected by our Constitution. So if you are living in the United States, you have certain rights. And it's really important that you understand that, know that, and know how to use them. So why is knowing your rights important? Well, the significance of being informed so that you can protect yourself and your family, have some confidence if you are in a stressful situation, to be able to take a deep breath and remember the things that you've learned and know what to do. And And then just knowing the resources that are available to you. We have so many resources, and the district has been so great about making sure that at the schools and on the website that there is just a plethora of resources for you to access, especially in this season of just high anxiety and high stress around immigration. To summarize, these are going to be the most important. We're going to go into this in detail, but the key rights to keep in mind that you always have the right to remain silent. You have the right to refuse entry. You can protect your body, yourself, your car, your house. You do not have to allow someone to search your personal belongings. And you have the right to legal representation, okay? We do have red cards in the back, and those are a good little summary. If you have not already gotten a red card, I would be surprised because they're everywhere. But if you haven't, please grab some in the back before you leave today. Okay, so what to do during an encounter with ICE? Let's start with if you're in transit or on the street. So this is if you're walking your kids to school, or even if you're driving and you get pulled over, which is very unlikely that you would get pulled over by ICE, but it's more likely, even though it's very rare, it would be more likely that you would be at a grocery store, walking somewhere, and then maybe encounter ICE. So if you encounter ICE on the street or in transit, it is really important to stay calm. I know that's so easy to say, right? Because, everyone, calm down. And that's usually not helpful advice. But I think it is really important if you're feeling stressed, if you see a situation, you see ICE or even law enforcement, take a deep breath and remain calm. If you we'll talk about this more later, but if you have never been in immigration courts, then nobody is looking for you, okay? Nobody has your name on a list looking for you. If you have been in immigration court and you have a removal order or had a prior removal order, then please come and use the community service hours that we have here at the community center, and so that we can talk more in depth. But by and large, most of you probably do not have a removal order or have ever been in immigration court. So please just rest assured that your name is not on anybody's list. Nobody is looking for you. So if you are in the street or at the grocery store and you see ICE or what you believe is ICE, know that they are not there specifically for you, okay? So if they try to engage you and stop you or ask you a question, your question back is, am I being detained? Am I being arrested? If they say no, then you are free to go. First of all, let's just use some common sense. Obviously, if I'm here walking into Northgate and I see ICE over there, I'm just going to go ahead and turn around and calmly walk away, right? But if they stop you, then that's when you're going to need to immediately use your rights. So you have the right. If they say no, so you're going to ask immediately, am I being detained? Am I being arrested? And if they say no, then you're just going to calmly leave the situation. You do not have to stay and have a conversation with them if you are not being detained. Typically, and what the rules and the law say is that they have to have suspicion that you are participating in some kind of illegal activity in order to detain you. So if you're just grocery shopping, you're minding your own business, you most likely will not be detained. If they say yes, then immediately you are going to use the right to remain silent. These are where those red cards come into play, because you can, if you don't feel confident in your English, you can go ahead and present that red card as a way of asserting your right to remain silent. Do not lie or give false documents. So if they ask, are you a U.S. citizen? Do not say yes if you are not a U.S. citizen. If you are not a legal permanent resident and they ask you, are you a legal permanent resident? Do not say yes. It is really, really important that you do not lie or present false documents. In a couple slides, we're going to talk about the documents that you should and should not carry with you. But absolutely never, ever present false documents to anybody representing the government. If you are here in the U.S. legally, and we'll talk about what to carry. But as a reminder, always carry your proof of your legal status. So whether that be your green card or your work permit, those are things that should be on you at all times. And so you can present that in the case that you are being detained so that you can hopefully avoid being taken to immigration detention, okay? But if you do not have any documents, and they say that you are detaining you, then absolutely right then, done, don't talk. Don't share any information, and just continue to repeat, I am using my right to remain silent. I would like to remain silent, and just repeat it over and over again. So even if English is not your first language, that is a great phrase to practice. Practice at home, practice with, your husband. I'm using the right to remain silent, right? Or your kids, just to practice that English so that you if you need to, you can say that. You do not need to say what country you were born in, what country you are from. You do not need to say that you are undocumented or that you have TPS. You do not need to share any of that information if you are being detained. Silent right away. And again, if you're not being detained, then you're leaving the situation, so you're not talking anyways. Your rights, if you encounter ICE on the street, are, again, to remain silent. That is your right. You do not have to talk. And you have the right to refuse the search of your person, belongings, or vehicle. So if without a warrant, they are not, or without catching you in the moment of doing something illegal, like stealing or some kind of petty crime or more serious crime, they do not have the authority or the right to search your person, your belongings, or your car. So these key phrases: am I free to go? I do not consent to this search. I am asserting my right to remain silent. Okay, so these are phrases, again, that you can remember and that you can use in the case that you are being stopped by ICE on the street in transit. Okay, if you encounter ICE at your home, again, the only reason that ICE typically goes to someone's home is if they have a warrant or they're looking for someone specific. So again, if you have never been in removal order or removal proceedings and you do not have a removal order, they do not have a warrant for you. No, you have to have been in court in order for a judge to issue a warrant, okay? So what is more likely is that maybe the person that lived in your apartment or your house previously maybe did have a removal order. And so they're there to look for that person. Or maybe someone that you live with, maybe it's someone that rents a room, or your partner does have a removal order. And so then maybe they could be looking for that person, okay? So this is really, really important. Do not open the door, okay? This is something that you need to have family meetings about with your kids. You don't need to talk about ICE. You don't need to talk about immigration, but we're just going to have a quick family meeting. We do this with my kids. Someone knocks on the door, we're not running to open it, okay? It's an adult's job to open the door. It's an adult's job to check and see if the person that is knocking on the door is a safe person that we can open the door for. It is not a kid's job to open the door. If you open the door, that is, ICE interprets that as them having then the right to enter your property. So it's really important that if you, every time someone knocks, just look before. And this is in general, right? This is not just for an ICE agent. We don't need to be opening the door to every person knocking on our doors. If it is ICE, so if someone is knocking on your door, you look out the peephole or the window and you see that it looks like law enforcement or an ICE agent, then you need to find another way to communicate with them without opening the door, whether that be through a window or even just shouting through the door. And the question is always, what are you here for? Why are you here? What do you want? Please show me your badge. Identify yourself. Law enforcement is supposed to identify themselves. They're not supposed to be acting rogue and just, in plain clothes without identifying themselves. If you ask to see their badge, they need to show you their badge, their identification. If it is truly ICE, then the next question is, let me see the warrants. Where's the warrants? They have to present a warrant in order for you to legally have to open the door. Obviously the trick is you can't open the door to receive the warrant. So they need to hold it up against a window so that you can see it. They need to slide it under the door. I'm going to show you a picture of a warrant in a couple of minutes so you know exactly what to look for. But if that warrant does not have the name of someone who lives in that house, then you do not need to open the door. Your response, if they present a warrant and it's not a valid warrant or it's not a warrant for someone who is actually in the home, then you say, this person is not here. I do not consent to your entry. You are not allowed to enter. This person is not here. These are the things that you would say and repeat. Your rights in your home, right to remain silent. Even if the officer does present a proper warrant and they do enter your home because they have the legal authority to do so, which again is very, very, very rare that actually happens. But if that does happen and they enter your home, you're done. You don't talk. You have the right to remain silent. And that's what you say. I'm asserting my right to remain silent. You have the right to refuse the entry of any officer into your home without a proper warrant. Again, using these key phrases. Do you have a warrant? I do not consent to your entry. I am asserting my right to remain silent. If ICE forces their way into your home, please record as best as you can on your cell phone and repeat these phrases. I do not consent to this search. I do not consent to your entry. Sometimes with ICE or with law enforcement, we don't get justice in the moment, and we have to pursue justice on the back end or after an incident of injustice. And the best way that you can protect yourself is to assert your rights and try as best as you can to record yourself doing that so that you have evidence that your rights were violated. So again, I do not consent to this entry. I do not consent to this search. Okay, a note about documents. So if you have a legal permanent resident card or a valid work permit meaning that it is not expired or from 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but it's current, those are documents that should be on your person at all times if you leave the house. You're required by law to carry those documents with you at all times. Obviously, make sure that you keep a clear color copy somewhere in your home, and maybe even a second copy somewhere, on a computer, on your phone, or with a trusted friend or family member. If you have an AB60 California driver's license, do not present it to a federal agent, okay? Does everyone know what an AB60 driver's license is? Okay, it is a driver's license specific for the state of California for those that do not have evidence of legal status. So we have a law in California that allows anybody that is a resident of California to get a driver's license, which is great for many things. It prevents you from getting tickets or arrested for driving without a license. It allows you to, get the proper insurance and it assures that those that are driving are eligible and qualified to be drivers in California. However, this is a state ID. It is not recognized as a valid federal ID. So if you are stopped by a federal officer, an ICE agent, and they ask to see your ID, that is not an ID that you present. And that is when you will assert your right to remain silent and assert your right to not consent to the search of your belongings or of your person. Because it's incriminating in a way to present that driver's license because it's evidence that you are undocumented. Because if you weren't undocumented, then you would have a driver's license that is federally recognized. Does that make sense? And if you are out of state, that driver's license is not valid. So do not present it to state law enforcement from any other state besides California. However, if you are pulled over by police officers, California police officers, local police officers, or the sheriff, or speeding or for some kind of traffic violation, then that is when it's appropriate to present that driver's license. Does that make sense? Never carry or present false documents or documents that do not belong to you. Do not present a social security card that belongs to someone else, a passport that belongs to someone else, a green card that belongs to someone else. These are things that have very large consequences when it comes to immigration. So it is never, ever a good idea to present false or fake documents to a government official in any capacity. Do not carry documents from another country. Okay, so if you are just out about doing your business, going to the grocery store, dropping your kids off, that is not a time when you need to have your Mexican passport or your Salvadoran passport on you. Those should be kept in a safe place in your home, not something that you carry with you as identification. If you are able, go get the AB60 driver's license and use that as your state ID, you know, to purchase what you need to purchase or for driving. But your passport or any matricula or any ID that is specific to your country should not be something that you carry with you out and about in the streets. It should be left at home in a safe place. Okay. Okay, so a little bit about warrants, because there is some confusion. ICE is tricky. They try to be tricky because their job is to arrest as many people as possible. That is their job. They have a quota of human beings that they need to detain daily, weekly, monthly, annually. And so that is their job. So they are not on your side. They are not our friends. They are not looking for your best interest. So they have come up with their own administrative warrants as a way to try to intimidate the community. Right here on the left, that is an administrative warrant. It does not give them authority to search or seize any of your belongings. It does not give them the authority to even really detain you if you've asserted your rights, and it's really just a piece of paper. It's an administrative warrant is what it's called. However, on the right is a court issued warrant, and it has to be signed by a judge and stamped. So you can see exactly what it should look like in order for it to be valid. So even if it is this document, but it is not signed, then it is not valid. Even if it is this document, but it does not have your name or the name of someone that is in your vehicle or in your home, then it is not a valid reason for them to enter your vehicle or your home. So it's really important that you understand what a valid warrant looks like and what an administrative warrant looks like. Because in the moment, if ICE is banging on your door, your heart rate is high, your stress is high, your fear is high, and you need to be able to take a deep breath and remember what we're talking about right now and be able to look at the document that they're showing you and be able to say, that is not a valid warrant. I do not consent to your entry. You will not enter my home. It is really hard, especially as an immigrant, as someone that, you know, this is not the system that maybe you grew up in, to advocate for yourself. I understand that, but it is really important for you to know that you are worth advocating for and that you are worth knowing what your rights are so that in the moment you can stay calm and you can advocate for yourself, and protect your family, okay? So valid warrants, invalid warrants. If anybody wants to see this or a copy of it, stop by the community center during our office hours, which is Thursday and Friday, 9 to 11, and we can show it to you. We can give you a copy so that you can keep that. I would like us to practice, and I do think that we have time. Or Linda, is it okay if we do little skits? 5 minutes? Okay. Well, I don't know if anybody wants to come up here and do that. Okay. Here we are. Mm-hmm. Okay. So all of these slides will be on the website. Okay. So here's I think we need 3 people. We need a narrator, we need an ICE agent, and a community member. Okay. Well, I feel like that's a little, okay. So, yeah. It's okay. You're gonna have to share this with the ICE agent. Okay, so they're gonna do a little skit. We have these in Spanish and English. I recommend that you take them and don't practice it with your kids because our kids don't need more trauma around this, but with your friends or just to read through it to give yourself kind of a real example of what to say or what could happen. And we'll have our actors act it out for us so that we can kind of see an example of it in real life.
Yeah, narrator. Do you want me to read the beginning introduction part? Okay. For most undocumented migrants, the risk of deportation is minor if they exercise their rights. The big lesson for today is it's better to prevent than cry later. Everyone is protected under the United States Constitution. It does not matter if you are a citizen, legal, permanent resident, or undocumented. Under the Fourth Amendment, you have the right to not open your door. The Fifth Amendment protects your right to not answer questions. This amendment gives you the right to not answer questions, regardless of whether it's La Migra or ICE, or if you don't want to. So, exercise 1. Today is the day before the workshop and you are at home. You don't yet know your rights.
Oh, there we go. Now it's on. Turn it on, Chad.
All right, here we go. Open up, open the door.
Who is it?
It's ICE police. Open the door.
Oh no, it's the police. What do I do?
Open up, open the door. We only want to ask you a couple of questions. Do you have papers?
Well, no, I don't.
You are under arrest for being in this country illegally. I won't take you into detention right now.
Second scenario. Today is the day after the workshop. And once again, you are at home, but now you know your rights.
Open up, open the door.
Who is it?
It's ICE police. Open the door.
Oh no, it's the police. What do I do?
Open up. Open the door. We only want to ask you a couple questions.
Questions about what?
This is ICE. Open the door.
No, I have the right to not let ICE into my house. I will pass you a red card that explains the rights I am currently exercising. Please return the card to me after you have read it. Do it under the door. Oh. Yes, I have a-
Yes. See,
Yes, I have a judicial.
yes, we have a judicial warrant. Open the door so I can show it to you.
Please pass the warrant under the door or through the window so I can read it. That's. Oh, hold on.
Nope. We don't have the warrant, and this is ICE. Open the door now, or you will have problems.
So ICE almost never has a warrant, and that is why you don't have to open up the door.
I have the right not to open the door to ICE if you don't have a court-issued warrant or arrest warrant with my name on it and signed by a federal judge.
If you don't open the door, we will come back with a court-issued warrant.
That's fine. When you bring the warrant, I will open the door and prepare coffee and snacks too.
Well, as you wish. We will come back in a couple of hours or tomorrow.
That's fine. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
So how did Sylvia protect herself? She knew her rights, right? Absolutely. Do you want me to read this next section? Okay. Sylvia exercised her rights and did not open the door. The ICE agent could not arrest her even though she was undocumented and had a removal order. Sometimes ICE shows documents that look like warrants, but they aren't warrants. Be alert. Look at the paper, see if it has your name or address on it, if it has the word warrant on it, and is signed by a judge or federal magistrate. A warrant must have all three things in order to be legitimate. One of the tactics that ICE uses is to pretend to be local police. Be careful with this and don't get confused. The Fourth Amendment applies to the local police, but if you want to allow the local police inside, you should ask for some form of identification. For example, have them hold up their badge through the window to make sure that the officer is not an ICE agent. And I will say our local Fullerton Police Department has been very kind in communicating to us that they will not work with ICE. You can trust our local police. They will show you their badges, and that's the only time you open that door. If you have a criminal case, though, talk to your criminal defense attorney to get advice on your situation and what you should do if it's local police. And the Fifth Amendment protects the right to not answer questions. The amendment gives you the right to not answer questions no matter who asks, including ICE, and you do not have to speak with them. Remember, remain silent. It's your right. ICE must present evidence that you're here illegally or that you are a foreigner.
All right, can we thank our actors? Okay, question? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I mean, yes, the question is just about language barrier, right? If ICE is speaking in English and you don't speak English and you're wanting to respond in Spanish, how is that going to work? It's a good question. Usually one of the ICE agents does speak Spanish because they're trying to, they know who they're looking for, right? They're usually they have someone that speaks the language of the person that they are, or the people that they're trying to detain. But you know, in that situation, you can use Google Translate on your phone and type it in and then play it for them. It makes it more complicated, but regardless if you don't speak English, your rights are still the same. You do not have to open the door. You know, and that's why it is important to learn maybe a couple of these English phrases just in case, so that you can, you know, that you can be familiar and you can say them, even if you're not understanding what the agent is saying, you can just repeat yourself over and over again. And hopefully, you know, usually what happens in that situation, to be honest, is that they do leave, because if you don't allow them into your home, they know that they're not really allowed to force, well, they're not allowed to force themselves in. And if they do, then it kind of negates their whole case against you. And then it actually gives you rights because now you've been a victim of a crime. And so, yeah, so it's a good question. Google Translate, but probably an officer will speak the language that you speak, especially if it's Spanish. Oh, okay. And just to clarify about the warrants, they're not just come during my organization's office hours in order to see that, to receive that education if you would like to see one. This, which is Thursday and Friday from 9 to 11 right here at the community center. But also the slides to this presentation will be available on the Fullerton School District website. So you can also go there and access that resource, okay? Uh-oh. We're not moving. Uh-oh, we're frozen. There we go. Okay. So a little bit about what to do if you are detained, okay? And I have gone back and forth about whether I should include this information, because the thought of being detained in and of itself can be extremely traumatizing. To be separated from your children, to be in a detention facility, it is absolute, like, worst case scenario. However, I've gotten some feedback from some of the moms in my school and some of the parents that they would like to know what to do if you are detained. Again, the chances of you being detained are very, very, very slim. However, it is important that if you are detained, that you know what to do, what information to give, what information not to give, so that you can best protect yourself. Thank you. So, again, remain silent. Do not share any information about where you were born or your immigration status. The only information you need to give is your name and your birth date, and that this is so that your family can find you in the ICE locator to figure out where you are, to make sure that you have legal representation, okay? So your name, your valid true name, and your birthday, if you are detained, if you are being detained, is the only information that you need to give. Immediately request legal representation, Okay, so immediately say, I would like to find a lawyer. I want to see a judge and I want a lawyer. Do not sign any documents without speaking to an attorney first. So it is very common knowledge and a known tactic of ICE to say, ay, señora, sign this paper and then you're just going to come back tomorrow. You'll see your kids tomorrow. It's okay. Sign this paper. Sign it. That way you don't have to stay here. You don't have to go to detention. Just sign it. Come on, sign it. What they're trying to get you to sign is your own deportation, a voluntary departure. And that is signing away all of your rights to be able to fight your case in front of a judge. Do not sign a document, no matter how desperate you are, no matter how traumatized you are, how much you miss your children, how much you don't want to be in detention. If you desire to have any opportunity to stay in this country, do not sign anything without discussing it at length with an attorney that you know and trust, okay? It's really, really important. That is their number one tactic to fast track deportations, is to pressure, especially moms. They lay it on thick with the moms, okay? Because we know we don't want to be apart from our children. And so it's just really, really important that you have the peace of mind, the sense of mind to not do that. Ask to see a judge, okay? If you have been here longer than 2 years, you have a right to see a judge. If you've been here longer than 10 years, then you actually have a right to apply for some kind of relief in front of a judge, okay? So ask to see a judge. If you are afraid, legitimately afraid of persecution in your home country, make sure you tell the ICE agent that. I'm afraid to go back to my country. It's not necessarily something to say if you're not truly afraid of persecution, but if you are, then that is something that you need to communicate, because it kind of creates a different little possibility for you and a little extra layer of protection. Okay. Now let's kind of transition to preparing for the unexpected. So there's already been a workshop about this, and I know there's been lots of resources at the schools and at the community center as far as family preparedness. So let's go over just a couple summary items about that. So to prepare for the unexpected, and this is not just in case of a deportation or being detained. This is in case of an emergency in general. If you, as one of the caregivers for your children, are not able to provide that care, it's really important that we have all of this ready just in case. Have a family preparedness plan. Identify a trusted caregiver for your children, whether that be a friend, a sister or brother or aunt or uncle, preferably someone that does have legal status in the country, is the ideal person to ask to be a caregiver for your children in case of an emergency. Keep essential documents, birth certificates, passports in a secure and accessible location that caregiver, that substitute caregiver knows where to access it, and maybe even make copies and give them to that caregiver so that they have their own copies. If your child is a U.S. citizen, get them a U.S. passport. That should be top priority for 2025, is if your child is a U.S. citizen, get them a U.S. passport. I understand that there are sometimes complications to that. If you are a single parent and the other parent is not involved, but their name is on the birth certificate, but there are ways to still do it. It might not be something that I can advise on, but we can refer you to family attorneys that might be able to help work that out for you. But if it's possible, get your child a passport, even if they are a citizen of another country. If they're a Mexican citizen, Salvadoran citizen, Guatemalan citizen, go get them a passport. It's really important. And get yourself a passport as well. It just makes everything so much easier if there is a need to travel internationally to have that passport. Create a letter for travel. Okay, we have this. We have samples for you that then you can go get notarized in the community center. And it's a consent for children to travel, okay? We have it in Spanish and English. The English version is the one that we need. Spanish is here for your reference so that you know what you're filling out and what you're signing, okay? But the English one is the one that needs to be signed and notarized. And it's just a simple letter to give someone that you know and trust that is a U.S. citizen, preferably, the right to travel across international borders with your children. If I end up in Mexico, I would like my children to be able to come to Mexico to see me, but it's going to be very difficult for them to do that, to come back and forth if they don't have this consent letter, because you can't, you're not supposed to be traveling across international borders with other people's children for good reason, right? So that your children are not being kidnapped and that there's some protection there. So this letter of consent to travel is really, really important, okay? Have a list of local immigrant advocacy groups or immigration attorneys that are of high, good references available. I should have put this on the previous slide, but when it comes to being detained, do not call your attorney or a attorney if you are being detained. Call a family member, okay? And that family member needs to go track down legal representation for you. And the reason for that is if I'm detained at 5 in the morning and I get my phone call around 7 in the morning and I call Camino Immigration Services, we don't open until 9. So no one is going to answer the phone at 7 a.m. But if you call your comadre, you call your sister, you call your friend, hopefully they will answer, and then they'll know, okay, now I need to go track down an attorney or someone to help my friend or family member that's in detention, okay? But keep a list of those referrals with all of your important documents so that person that is, your emergency contact knows who to contact in case you are detained. I'm going to go back over this caregiver authorization affidavit. It's not on here, but we also have this form that is in English with the explanation in Spanish, so you know what you're signing, what you're filling out. This is a general form that should be filled out about once a year, redone once a year. It does not need to be notarized, but it's an agreement between you and a friend or specifically a family member that is willing to take care of your children in case of an emergency, okay? And so this gives the authority to that person to make decisions about schooling and medical. It does not give them the right to adopt your child or to make any guardianship decisions for your child. It's just simply in case of an emergency, they need to get medical treatment, or we need to talk to the teachers or the school about the academics of the child. This authorizes that person to do it. So it is really important that you have this handy and that you have worked out an agreement with a trusted person that is a U.S. citizen, preferably, that can take care of your children in case of an emergency, okay? So please grab this and fill it out. It's a very, very basic, and we have it in Spanish again as well to know what you're filling out, but it's the name of the minor or the child. I would just do one for each child that you have. Their birth date, your name, the name of the person giving authorization. So if I'm filling this out for my children, then it's my name right here, my address, my date of birth, my California driver's license if I have one, and then checking what is, that this is now it's turning to the person that I'm giving the authorization to. Probably checking 7 is the most, checking 7, and then check 1 or both. It's usually going to be the first one. I've advised the parents or the person having legal custody of the minor of my intent to authorize medical care and have received no objection. And then it's a signature of the person receiving, the person that's going to be given the authorization, and then down here in this box, the signature of the parent giving authorization, okay? So this is just a very simple form that can be used for that. It's only valid, I believe, for 12 months. So you're going to want to redo it every year. Okay. It does not need to be notarized. It can be if you would like, but it's not necessary. The travel consent form does need to be notarized. They're just two different options. Yeah, two different options. They're essentially the same. Yeah. Okay, community resources. Here are some of the resources available to you. This is my organization's information, but again, the best and the fastest way to get a consultation with myself or my staff is to come to our community service hours Thursday and Friday from 9 to 11 at the community center right here. Myself or someone on my staff will be there every Thursday and Friday for the next few weeks. Free consultations, and almost all of our services are free. So if there is an option for you to apply for some kind of relief or benefit, we are able to do that for you, and most likely it will be free or very, very minimal costs associated with it. We have the website, which is being updated regularly. So if there's new resources or new information or new policies or new law, it's going to go there for you to be able to get the information that you need. Community school programs. This is the Nicholas Community Center. There's so much good information over there, even apart from immigration, but just any kind of community resources that you might need, that's the place to go, okay? And then we have also the Center for Healthy Neighborhoods, which also has just a ton of resources and support for our families as well. So please take advantage of these resources, okay? More information, more resources. This is a little bit of the details of my organization's office hours at the community center. We have some other upcoming events that will just dive deeper into some of these things that maybe are relevant to you if you're an immigrant family. Just some other meetings and resources for you up there. And that's it. The last thing I want to say is I understand, again, that this is a very stressful time, especially if you are undocumented or people in your family are undocumented. I just want you to know that you are not alone. There is an army of people. Look around this room. Even just in your school district. The school district does not have to do this. There's nothing that says the school district needs to care for the families that are immigrants in this way, but they do. Because you are valid and you belong here. You belong in Fullerton. Your kids belong in our schools. I'm going to get emotional because I really care deeply, and I want you to know, thank you. You are not alone. We are ready. We are prepared. We are ready to put ourselves between you and ICE if it comes to that. This is really stressful. I understand. It's not fun to think about the worst case scenarios, you know? But just know that we are here because we care deeply, and you are not alone, okay? Support each other. If you are not an immigrant, make sure that you're being a good ally and a good friend to those other parents in our community that are, because it is a very stressful time. So thank you for being here. I know it's even sometimes scary to come to meetings like this because it feels like, oh, do I want to be, out myself as an immigrant? But it's really important for us to build community during this time. And we will win. We will come out of this season victorious if we have successfully supported one another and had each other's backs. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we're trying to do. So please just have that peace that you are not alone and that we are in this with you 100%. And so, yeah, if you need anything, we're there at the community center. Thursdays and Fridays, 9 to 11, please come by. Even if you think you don't have any options, fine, let's talk about it so that you know exactly, you understand exactly if you do or why you don't. It's always going to be free for the community, so please come take advantage of that. That's why we're there, okay? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the district for hosting this. I'll be around for
Thank you,
questions
Bethany.
after.
Right now, can we do a little Q&A if
Sure.
anybody has any questions? Because
Okay, yeah.
it's nutrition outside and the kids are everywhere. So
Okay.
we're gonna keep you.
a question back here.
Preguntas.
Get your steps in.
Preguntas?
Back here we have a question back here.
I'm gonna get my steps in. Buenos días, muchas gracias por este evento. Tenía dos preguntas. Una, si uno decidiera llevar sus hijos a México, si uno fuera deportado, usted como abogado, ¿qué recomendaría?
Just to clarify, I'm not an attorney. I'm a DOJ accredited representative. It's a little bit different, but still have the same authority to practice immigration law. What would I recommend as far as like taking your kids? Like, should you or should you not? What do you clarify a little bit more for me?
Sí, me llevaría a mis niños, pero me gustaría que ellos no tuvieran problemas en México y pudieran ser accesibles a una buena educación allá. Am, entonces, yo me gustaría saber qué es más recomendable, si sacar la doble ciudadanía para ellos o apostillar la acta de nacimiento, que es mejor para que ellos tengan una mejor educación allá.
But I want to make sure that they have a good education over there. So I do not know what should I do, if I should get a double citizenship or to really use their citizenship over there. So I want to know what you recommend.
It's a great question. I would recommend personally that if your children are eligible for Mexican citizenship, even if they were born in the US, to absolutely make sure that they're registered as Mexican citizens, because Mexico does have strict rules about who can access education. And if they have Mexican citizenship and proof of that, then it's much easier to get them in school in Mexico. So yes, if you're eligible for dual citizenship, the United States allows dual citizenship. So it really is up to the other countries. So if Mexico allows it and the US allows it, absolutely they should be getting their citizenship. Also, they can buy beachfront property if you're a Mexican citizen. So another reason to get your Mexican citizenship. I'm just saying.
Fácil. Y México tiene son reglas estrictas para acceder a la educación. Entonces ella recomienda que usted pueda solicitar la doble ciudadanía para ellos. También puede comprar propiedades sociales mexicanas.
Ok, otra pregunta. Y siento que esta pregunta no la hemos hecho todos los papás. Y es, si nosotros dejamos nuestros hijos aquí, claro que los vamos a dejar con un hermano, probablemente, o con un tío. ¿Quién se va a hacer cargo de la alimentación? ¿Quién se va a hacer cargo de pagar la renta? ¿Quién se va a hacer cargo de todo eso? Nosotros como papás necesitamos saber eso, porque si nosotros nos vamos y trabajamos allá, podemos enviar dinero para acá, pero no va a ser suficiente para que nuestros hijos estén bien aquí. Y siento que eso es algo muy importante que todos los papás necesitamos saber. ¿Y a quién le podemos hacer esta pregunta?
So my question is, and I think that all of us as parents have asked ourselves before, if we go to Mexico and we leave the kids in here, and we might even with a brother, a sister, or a trusted friend, who in the long term will be taking care of the bill, their food, their shelter, rent, all those needs, and who do we ask this question of?
Yes. So these are all great questions. There's so much to cover on this topic and we can't do it all in once. So that's why this is a 3-part series. This is the first part of 3 other options. So March 26th, actually we'll have someone that's covering that and explaining that and talking about assets and finances and things like that. So please come back to that. That's outside of my scope of expertise. So we're going to have other people here to share that, but it is great questions and it's really important to plan for that. And so hopefully these next workshops will be resources to help you all plan more in depth for those scenarios.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions right here?
Solo quería comentar algo de lo que la señora preguntó. Yo escuché a la cónsul de Fresno en una entrevista que le hicieron. Recomendaba por todo lo que está sucediendo que sería bueno nosotros como mexicanos sacar la doble ciudadanía a nuestros hijos, porque en caso de que tengamos que irnos, ellos tienen derecho a la escuela, universidad, sin ningún problema, todos los recursos como ciudadano mexicano. Y recomendaba que si lo hacemos desde nuestro consulado aquí, es más fácil y más económico, que cuando uno llega allá también lo pueden obtener, pero es un poco el proceso más tardado. Y lo aconsejan llevar desde ahora la ciudadanía desde aquí por el consulado. Es
Recommending that you will issue, you get a double citizenship. From here from the consulate,
The wait time is very long right now. The consulate is very backed up, but just get yourself in line, do what you need to do to take care of it. Other questions? Dr. Chad?
Just in case, let's say that something were to happen and your children were to get separated from you, whoever you leave them with, in the meantime, would be responsible for paying for their rent, their food, and those things. So just I want to make sure everyone just knows that if you leave them with your sister or your aunt or uncle or a friend, that person would have the responsibility of paying for them until something else is able to be arranged. So I just want to make sure that's clear to everybody.
Thank you. That's why it's really important that you have a conversation with the person that you're asking to be the emergency caregiver, that it's clear that they know what they're signing up for. We have a question over here. Oh, okay.
En la meeting pasado en la Woodcrest me dijo que hoy me iba a decir si podía arreglar papeles por parte de mi hijo que cumple 21 el 3 de marzo.
Uh-huh.
The last meeting at Woodcrest, you let me know if I could fix the paperwork for my son that was turning 21 years old.
So come tomorrow to the community center between 9 and 11 tomorrow or Friday, and someone from my staff will be there to do a full intake and consultation with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we are
Yes.
taking appointments too, to make sure that everybody has enough time to have everything handled and all questions asked. I believe tomorrow there is a 9 o'clock already, but call the community center. We can book you for the 9:30 spot. You're always welcome.
And there is a notary right now in the community center. So if you're done here and you have the letter ready to be notarized, you can take it over there to get notarized. The travel consent letter. Okay, other questions?
Yeah. I'm getting sentimental. I'm sorry.
I already cried in front of everybody and on Zoom, so it's okay.
I know there's a lot of resources, and right now what I see that I need help with is with the consulate to get an appointment with them. Because I've been going to different places to get my passport, but I haven't been able to. On Saturday, they had a limited amount of people. So if anyone knows where the consulate is gonna be on wheels, if you can share that information, so someone like me that is trying to get an appointment, if you can help out with that.
Yeah, we can do a little bit of research on that. And I think we do. I personally don't have any contacts at the consulate, but I know that there are people in our network that do. So we can, and even maybe Luke Carrera's office or something can help with that. So follow up with me and we can maybe try to figure out how we can help with that. We have a question here and a couple more over here.
I'm going to say it both in English and Spanish.
Okay, perfect.
So my name is Elizabeth. First of all, thank you guys. Thank you, Fullerton community, for doing this. Thank you, Ms. Hilda, for helping me bring my mom. So really quick, I'm going to translate it in Spanish so everybody understands. I'll still say. So yo soy una activista sola. Ok, cualquier persona que quiera tener mi número, por favor, vengan a mí. Si hay alguien que usted sabe que quiera ayudar a la comunidad de Orange County, por favor, comuníquense porque el condado de Los Ángeles están organizando gente que están levantándose a las 3, 2 de la mañana. Lo que están haciendo, están saliendo a las calles para asegurarse que ustedes puedan salir y no estar mirando sus espaldas o a los lados, dónde van a estar ICE, dónde van a estar Border Patrol. So, si ustedes saben de alguien que quiera ayudar a nuestra comunidad de Orange County, por favor comuníquense a mí, ¿ok? Yo estoy trabajando con un grupo que se llama Dare to Struggle en el condado de SoCal, que está aquí en Orange County. Dare to Struggle están también en Nueva York, en Chicago y en todas partes. So, es un grupo de protesta y activistas que estamos ayudando a toda la comunidad. ¿Ok? Si ustedes saben, vamos a decir a su hijo, si quieren hacer las cosas bien, hay que hacerlos bien. Empieza de la casa. Díganle a sus hijos, si van a salir, ustedes solamente vayan a salir para su educación. Dejen a los demás para protestar contra ICE. ¿Ok? Porque hay muchas cosas que están pasando en nuestra comunidad, en nuestras familias. Y ustedes no necesitan que temer no más. ¿Ok? Pero si usted sabe que su hijo es un ciudadano y quiere ayudar, por favor, tome mi número, yo se los doy con mucho gusto para organizar un grupo que salga y que salgan el día, que salgan a tarde, que salgan a noche, para que ustedes sepan dónde están, dónde no ir y estén en paz, porque eso es lo que ustedes necesitan, estar en paz y tranquilidad. Yo sí me salgo, aunque mi mamá no sabía, ¿verdad? Pero yo salgo a las 2 de la mañana para que esa señora pueda salir a trabajo, para que esa señora pueda regresar. Gracias a Dios tengo un buen boss, un dueño, que ellos hasta se ofrecieron para decirme, si tú te tienes que ir, vete. Se ofreció hasta mi dueño decir, tu mamá tiene que ir a la cita de doctor, háblame. So, está allí todo, solamente hay que hablar y hay que ayudarnos. ¿Ok? So, bien rapidito en inglés, I work with Dare to Struggle. This program is worldwide. They're in Chicago, New York, etc. We're using our platform to protest against ICE, not only against for our Mexicans, we're protesting for Pakistan, Muslims, you name it. It's for all of our community, even for Black people, because it's not just one. It's not just us Mexicans. Blacks, there's Asians, so forth. So LA County has gathered up together with people in their community. And what they're doing is that they're going out in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night to look around their streets and make sure that there's not ICE there. And if there is, they're communicating that through our social media platforms. So if you know of anybody that's willing to do this here in Orange County, please let me know. I'll give you my number. That way our community is ever aware of where they are and where not to go. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be here in the meantime. And once again, thank you, Fullerton School District, Fullerton community. Thank you for the teachers, principals for doing this for my community in Fullerton. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I know we had a couple more questions.
I have a question about the temporary caregiver. What would happen if I'm deported and I cannot come back in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? Can that temporary caregiver be looking after my kids for as many, I don't know, years?
Yeah, I mean, that's really a personal decision that you and that caregiver have to make together. Because maybe the caregiver is willing to do it for an emergency time period, 6 months or a year. And then after that, you're going to have to reevaluate and figure out what the permanent solution is to the separation. So that's really, that's really between you and the person that you've asked to fill that role. And it's going to look different for every family, because some families maybe are going to try it for a few months and then decide, no, I want my children with me. I'm going to have them come move to Mexico with me or to whatever country I'm in. Or, maybe the decision is, no, I want them to stay to finish their education. And so then that's just this form is valid for 1 year. So after 1 year, you're going to need to do it again and reevaluate. So it really is just a personal decision between you and your family, what is going to be the best option for you and for your children. And you may make a decision today saying, I want my kids to stay in school. And then you may be 3 months down the line and say, no, I want my kids back, so to hold it all loosely.
Ok, quiero agradecerles de todo corazón de parte de mi familia, de mis hijos, que estén haciendo esto por nosotros. Mi meta es que mis hijos estén conmigo siempre. Ok, esté yo aquí o estemos en México, vamos a hacer todo hasta lo imposible por darles de comer. De hambre no se van a morir. Pero les agradezco porque toda esta información que nos están dando es algo que les voy a agradecer toda la vida a todos. No nos conocen, yo sé que no tienen por qué hacer esto, pero lo están haciendo, yo sé que de corazón. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? We've just a couple more minutes. Okay. We'll do this is the last one and then we'll be around if you have more questions after. Right, Erlinda, is that okay?
Yeah, good morning. My question is like for people already in the process for paperwork, immigration. What happened to them if they not got any results from the attorney or whatever? So how can they protect themselves?
So the question is if someone is already in some kind of process,
Yes.
and then if something happens while they're in the middle of that process. So the truth is that it really depends on what the process is. Okay. So if you I know that it's really common that maybe someone has used a notario or even an attorney that's really hard to get a hold of. And so you're not quite sure what is going on with your case. In our organization, we prioritize ensuring that people understand what is going on, how long they're going to be waiting, and what their rights are in the meantime.
Okay.
So you can always bring your receipts to the community center and I can review it for you and let you know, okay, if you have a U visa pending, for example, your U visa pending is not protection against deportation. You can still be detained and deported while the U visa is pending. However, if you have a green card application pending, then you are not removable unless you've committed a crime. So it really depends. Excuse me. It depends on what the situation is. Some pending processes do offer protection and some do not. So it's really important that either you have a meeting with the attorney that filed your paperwork and ask the specific questions to understand what is going on, how much longer you should be waiting, things like that. Or if you didn't have one, then that's something that our office can definitely help you with. But it's going to depend.
Okay, thank you.